The Mandy Connell Show is sponsored by Bell & Pollock Accident and Injury Lawyers.
Now, it's Mandy Connell on KOA 850 AM and 94.1 FM.
Welcome to the second hour of the show. I'm very pleased to have in the studio a man who he's not wearing his rainbow wig right now, but he's our favorite gay Republican, Valdamar.
Mm-hmm.
Is it Archuleta? Is that how you say it?
Valdamar Archuleta, yes.
Archuleta. That's a great name.
Yes. Got the A-Rod horn.
Asked for some air horns and got some.
I love the air horn.
Valdamar's very involved with Campfire Colorado. We're going to talk about that in just a second, what that is. Log Cabin Republicans. You are the gay Republican, and I want to start.
I am the gay Republican.
I know we don't normally do the whole identity politics thing, but that's kind of why you're here today, because this month is all about identity politics.
This is my month. They're celebrating me, all of you. You have to, whether you like it or not.
And you know what? I'm going to have my Celebrate Valdamar party tonight, as a matter of fact. It's happening on the last day, or the 24th. You know, I have long been a proponent. I was a theater major in college, for crimini's sake. So
you know lots of gays.
Yes, just steeped in the gayness my whole college career. But I've always also advocated for equal treatment for gay people. I've advocated for gay marriage and all of that stuff. And so I feel like I've been very hip to the gay political culture, because there is the gay political culture that's very important, that pushed really hard on a lot of that stuff. But I got to tell you, Valdamar, this year, more than any other year in prior history, I feel like during Pride Month that if you did not know any gay people, you would think that all gay people were the most flamboyant gay people in the world, like Charles Nelson Riley flamboyant, or they were drag queens, because that is the representation that we're seeing in this month. And I don't feel like it's ever been this bad. Well, where are the normies? Where are the normal gay people?
I would agree. And I have nothing against drag queens. Like I like drag queens. Yeah. I like drag shows. And when they are age appropriate and in this, an appropriate location, they're great. And they really aren't that bad. I think they have become villainized as these like monsters coming out to get you. But there's reason for that, because that's the way we're portraying the gay community. It's like we're a bunch of drag queens. And the inability for many drag queens and establishments to tone things down for the audience.
I'm glad you said it like that, because one of the things...
Not say it does what, it's not going to lick itself when there's children in the audience.
I've been to many, many drag shows in my life, because as a theater major, this is what you do. And the thing about them that makes them so great is they're all over the top and bawdy. They're not overtly... gross sexual, but they are funny sexual. And that's what makes it a fun time to sit in a bar, go to a drag brunch or whatever. But I think that you have to, at some point, draw the line of what's appropriate for children. The same way we have ratings on movies. And to your point, I've never been to a drag show where I thought they could tone it down and still have the same good time.
Yeah.
It's just, that's part of the experience.
Yes, I agree. And this year has gotten, but it's been progressive. It keeps getting worse and worse. And maybe worse isn't the right word.
More extreme, more flamboyant.
Yes. Yeah. I looked at a picture. I saw this post. There were pictures from Pride festivals back in like the 70s and the 80s. And everyone had their clothes on.
Stop it.
And there were signs like showing like for freedom and equality. Yeah. There were American flags there with the rainbow flags. And now it's become almost like how can we shock people? What can we do to shock and get attention and show the most extremes of people's sexuality? And I'm no prude. I'm not going to pretend that I am some,
that you're a Baptist sitting in the back row.
Pearl clutching church woman. But there's a place for that. And when you bring it out to the public and you're right, all right, this is going to be a representation of the LGBT community, and we want families to come and we want this to happen, you need to make it appropriate for that occasion and for that representation. If you want to have these, different things, like, make it like the Folsom Street Fair, like that's fine, but do it in its spot. Make it known this is what's happening over here.
Yeah, what he's talking about is like a legendary festival. I don't know if that's the right word.
It's a festival
in San Francisco, and it's very.
Don't look it up if you don't want to see adult pictures.
Yes, it's not.
It's kind of like Mardi Gras to the extreme.
Yes. Yes.
But that's a whole nother subject. But even things like that, I went to Mardi Gras a few years ago, and in Bourbon Street, they kind of confined the craziness to right there. I actually was surprised that the rest of the celebration was actually very family friendly.
Yes.
Where there were kids, there was nothing crazy going on. There was no women flashing their boobs. Because there were children there and families there, and it was a family-friendly festival. But on Bourbon Street is what everyone knows about. It's kind of confined to that location. And if Pride Fest would do the same thing, like, all right, we're going to be a little crazy over here, but we want to represent our community to families and the general public better. So over here, we're just going to talk about freedom, equality, and the fight we had and the struggle. That would be great.
See, that's what I mentioned that at the beginning of the show. For me, I have a lot of gay friends that they're accountants, they're vice presidents of a bank, they're a pediatrician, they're normal people that don't walk around in a studded thong, and they're never going to do that. And where are those people during Pride? And I've never had the opportunity to ask, because again, I think this is the worst year for it, where this year it feels like you have to be super gay if you're going to be associated with Pride, and then the kind of normal families that are going to the park and having barbecues have no representation at all. Do people in the gay community talk about that?
They do. I actually used to be on the board of directors for the Colorado Springs Pride organization, and we had this conversation almost every year when it would come up, that is Pride counterproductive? Like, are we just displaying the stereotypes?
Right.
And that's what's going to be on the news, and that's what the people who don't like us are going to see. Is it really productive? But we also talked about, well, if you had a parade of lawyers and doctors and, homekeepers,
no one would come.
No one would come to see that.
Yeah.
No one would want to see that. As well as the fact that you do have, you do have to admit that, like, the drag queens and some of these individuals were big proponents of fighting for our rights. So, like, having them there is important.
Right.
But I also think drag queens have changed a lot, because back in, those days, or even not that long ago, it was more, like you said, it was kind of like vaudeville type entertainment. Now it's very sexual. Like, they come out in these very sexual costumes, which is fine in the club.
Right.
But then when you bring it to the streets of this festival, it may not be appropriate all the time for the audience in front of you. And I think that the LGBT community just needs to be a little better about their representation and what they want to accomplish as well. Because I also feel like it used to be, we were fighting for, like, an assimilation. We just wanted to live amongst everyone. We wanted the freedom to be ourselves. You be you, we'll be us, and let's all just live together happily. And now, and it's happened in a lot of things, like with BLM, La Raza, and other things. They've taken over these groups and made their struggle about pushing a Marxist agenda. And
you feel like that in the gay community is happening right now?
I feel that happening in the gay community, because, and it's not so overtly out there, but it's like you can see they're wanting separation. Like with the new Pride flag that now has the trans colors and the black and brown. It's become exclusionary, because the old rainbow flag, none of them colors represented a specific individual person or group of people. They all represented everybody. You can even be straight, and that flag would represent you. It represented everyone. And now the flag is exclusionary, because there are people now they're not represented by that flag.
But that's intersectionality. That's intersectionality, which is, honest to God, the most toxic garbage stew I have ever heard in my entire life. Never has an ideology, easy for me to say, been set up as a race to the top of the victim heap.
Yes.
That's what intersectionality is. And I had a story yesterday on the blog about all these progressive organizations that are so beset by infighting, as the gay, black, lesbian group is fighting with the white, gay, male group about all this stupid nonsense. And that's what intersectionality does. It divides you even further and pits you against one another. But you're ostensibly on the same team, right? But it's all very divisive.
And now you'll see a lot of things where there's comments in that speaking out, like, against white cisgender men, which for everyone out there who's not up on the lingo, a gay white man would be considered a cisgendered white man, and he's not oppressed enough to really be celebrated now, according to some people.
Wait a minute.
When back in the day, white cisgender men were the main ones who fought for our freedoms as gay people, so pushing them out now is completely ridiculous.
Wow. So even in the gay community, being a white dude is a hallmark.
You're not oppressed enough. You need to shut up and go over there and like get away.
Oh
now,
my God.
Not everyone feels that way, but you see comments like that. There are even articles that have been written, like opinion pieces that state things like that. That white cisgendered gay men are also part of the problem.
I gotta say, Valdamar, I think right now, this moment in time, I don't think you could argue that there's never been a better time to be gay in America.
I agree.
I mean, this is the time when the level of acceptance, to your point, the level of people who just don't care that you're gay, you love who you want to love, they don't care.
Yeah.
It's the highest it's ever been. But at the same time, I kind of feel like that part of what's happening in the trans movement is it's almost like they're trying to erase gay kids. Because instead of saying you're gay, they're saying, oh, you're in the wrong body.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that's controversial to say.
I also think that that's easier to push on a child, because to say like a child, like, oh, he's sexually attracted to other little boys, like that just creepy.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even like the term gay kid or trans kid, like, because you're bringing a child into a sexual thing. Whereas if you say a trans kid, though, it can be like, well, it's not about sex. It's just about who they feel they are. And so it's easier for a child to become.
Most of those kids are still same-sex attracted. That's what the studies are showing, that a lot of these kids, especially girls who are coming out as trans boys, they're just lesbians. And there's part of me that thinks, isn't that convenient to have a way to erase gay people? Yeah. And I think that there's maybe something to that.
But like I said, but as a child, I think that's an easier thing to kind of push.
100%.
Because I know, like I tell people, I knew I was gay when I was like 3, which sounds ridiculous. But when I say that, I did not know the whole construct of being gay. Like I didn't know that I was a little boy who was attracted to other boys.
Right.
I just knew something about me was different.
Right.
And at that point, someone very easily could have convinced me I was a girl. Because I remember even having thoughts, knowing that maybe I wish I was a girl. Or if I was a girl, maybe I'd feel better. But now I know, like, I am not a girl.
Right.
That is not what was happening. But as a child, I couldn't understand why I felt like I was different. Like, it takes a while. I mean, you look at even teenagers, college students, a lot of them are still like, I'm finding myself, which is fine. You know, I'm nothing against them. But, you know, it takes a while sometimes for us to understand the deeper parts of ourselves, especially when it comes to sexuality, attraction, and representation. As a child, you know, you're just you. But I also don't feel like I missed out on anything. Like, these were just thoughts that went through my head. But most of the time I was like, I'm just gonna be a little boy. I'm gonna go play in the dirt. I'm gonna go play with my friends, boys and girls.
Yeah.
It didn't matter. I went to a friend's house who were little girls, and I'd play with their Barbies. And
when you told people from your when you started coming out to people, did you have people go, oh, Valdamar, we totally knew?
Yes, there were some.
I've yet to have someone to come out to me that I did not say emphatically, I've known this for years. Like, you just know. But it's always, I always take that as a point of pride that someone thought I was a special enough friend to have that conversation with me and be open about that. So,
and I think a lot of this, like maybe pushing is not the right word, but bringing this up to children at a young age, like people made a big deal about the Florida bill, and even in Colorado, we kind of have the same standard that people got mad at. I think rather than talking to children about this, we should talk to the parents about this. Like, this is what you do. Should your child tell you they are gay or trans or whatever, love them, support them, no matter what, but don't do anything that's going to be life-changing until they're older. Like when they turn 18, if they still feel the same way, like, all right, now let's talk to someone and see what's the best thing to do for you individually, but still love them and support them. But there's a rift even being created between children and parents.
That's a huge, that's
like what
where
happened
the Marxist agenda.
With Elon Musk. Like what happened with this child, disown your father because he's so terrible. Like, why are you, like, we were the ones who used to be like, we wanted our parents to accept us, and now we're going to be the ones disowning our parents because they aren't up to our standard. Like, it's completely reversed now. This
is the Marxist agenda that you were talking about. A part of the Marxist agenda is to separate children from their parents specifically. So I read an article about a young girl who thought she was trans, and her mother basically said, I love you so very much, but we're not going to do any medical interventions. We're going to get you a lot of therapy.
Yes.
We're going to work through this. And if at some point in the future you decide that you want to make those choices, that's great. I'll support you, but it's going to be in the future. It's not right now. Long story short, girl realizes she's not trans. She's gay. She's a lesbian, right? But in that process, her mom said she went on all of these sites that are kids are finding when they're searching on the internet. And they are, if you tell your parents they're going to throw you out, they begin that division process very, very early on. And it severs that relationship with the people that these kids need the most.
Yeah,
and,
exactly. We should be talking to families about how do you support your child and get to a place that's going to be healthy for them instead of, I'm doing something like that, or we're going to talk to the children and then just tell them, don't talk to your parents. They're too backward and old and they don't get it. Like that's not the way to solve these problems. It's just going to make things worse.
So you guys are going to be, as a matter of fact, let's do this. Valdamar Archuleta is my guest. He's with Campfire Colorado and the Log Cabin Republicans. When we get back, you guys are going to be at Pride this weekend. And we were talking off the air about the Dobbs decision that we already got protesters in downtown Colorado. If you're down there, by the way, you don't have anything to protest in Colorado. Okay, nothing changed. Yeah. Literally nothing changed in Colorado with that decision. You can still get an abortion. And if you're a dude who's down there, we all know you're just trying to get laid from a girl who will not carry the baby to term. So there you go. We'll be back with Valdamar. Let's talk about that strategy for tomorrow because you guys are in an interesting position.
Sounds good.
Headed down there. We'll be back right after this. But our friend Susan Whitkin is going to come in here in just a second. I got a lot of text messages. So, Mandy, I'm generalizing, but it almost seems like the flamboyant fringe is daring anyone to say anything. Because if you say what you said, Valdamar, which is this counterproductive, then are you anti-gay? Are you a self-hater?
Yes.
We'll talk about that when we get back.
That's what they say.
Yes, we'll talk about that when we get back. Welcome back to the program. Don't forget, in about half an hour is your chance to win $1,000 in gas money. That's right. We know gas is expensive. Thanks, Joe Biden. And we're going to give you $1,000. All you have to do is listen for the keyword to keyword to enter at the website, KOAcolorado.com, and then your chance to win $1,000 is coming up right after the top of the hour. I'm visiting with Valdamar Archuleta. He is with the Log Cabin Republicans, and also, he loves the air horn. He's very happy about the air horn there. But on the break here, we were having a conversation because our text line has a lot of positive comments about our conversation. We're talking about Pride. Several people have kind of said your comment about is Pride counterproductive is very interesting because I happen to think that certain things that happen around Pride at this point are counterproductive. The very, very hypersexualized things that used to just be in the clubs and they were fine, to your point, in the clubs. That's all adults. But now they're kind of leaking out into the streets. And it's too much for some people. And I want to give these people a little bit. They're the same people who would be appalled at straight people behaving in the same hypersexualized manner. It's not always because it's two women or two men. It's that some people are uncomfortable with hypersexualized behavior. Frankly, I don't like a lot of hypersexualized behavior in an open setting where I get very concerned, like there's little children around. I start to go into mom mode. And that's true whether it's a straight couple making out in a disgusting fashion and pawing all over each other. I don't want to see that either.
Yeah, if they had a giant swingers party in the middle of the Civic Center one weekend and everyone's welcome to come. We're celebrating how much we love our swingers lifestyle. Like, you know what? I'm glad you do, but let's not do that in the middle of the Civic Center and invite families to come. I don't disagree with that.
I want to read this one comment that just came in on the Centauri Health text line. Mandy, I'm a woman, conservative, gay, in that order. The self-advertised, all-inclusive, open and accepting gay community includes some of the most intolerant jackasses I have ever met. I have 6 tolerant gay friends, all women, who unfriended me because I'm a Trump supporter. Just try showing up this weekend wearing MAGA Republican paraphernalia and watch the spewing of kindness and acceptance you would get. Now, you are with the Log Cabin Republicans, which is an active organization within the Republican Party that specifically is for gay people. And I love the concept of the Log Cabin Republicans, but every time I talk to someone involved, you guys get it from both sides.
We do.
You're not
very
conservative
lucky
enough
in that regard.
Yeah, for Republicans, but you're also gay, but you're too conservative for the gay community that we're talking about in this.
Yes.
Yeah. So.
Well, first thing I would say to her is, come find us. Look us up. We're on all social media. We want you as part of our group. There are more of you out there than you may think. But it is true. This is the first time I've done a Pride Festival in the environment we're in. Obviously, the environment we're in right now. We haven't had it in 2 years because of COVID. So this is the first in-person one we've had in a while. So it'll be interesting to see how it goes. But we're hoping to have some good conversation and meet more people like this individual so we can have conversations with them, bring them to the group and build our membership. But we do get it from all sides. There was one day last year, I forget, it was the GOP, Colorado GOP organization has their meeting. I forget what it's called. My mind's going blank right now, but it was down in Pueblo. And so I was down there in the morning representing the gays amongst the Republicans, so to speak. And when I was walking around and I had my little badge on and talking to people, and I'm not going to lie, there are a few people still out there who are not that comfortable with the gays in the Republican Party.
They're worried they're going to catch it. You can catch the gay. That's the problem. If it wasn't so contagious, they'd be okay with it.
But for the most part, it was fine. People were fine with us. And then that evening, the Denver Pride Center had their big fundraising gala. And so I went to that. So in the evening, I got to be the Republican amongst the gays. I don't want to call any organization out, but I think the Pride organization did this on purpose. They knew who I was, but they sat me at the table of a very progressive organization here in town. And at first, I don't think they really knew who I was. We were talking, everyone was fine, and then they realized who I was. And but to give them credit, a lot of them were very, very nice to me. There was one guy, and I think he was doing it because you can see there was one guy who was not happy about me being there. And even when I wasn't looking at him, he'd be literally hissing at me. Do I acknowledge that? Or
this is going to sound super condescending, but that's kind of one of those things I love about gay people. They do things like that. Normal, and I say normal meaning straight in this. I know I shouldn't, but straight people generally don't hiss at one another at a dinner, but. And
again, I don't care that he did that, but because of that, I think some of the other people at the table almost became nicer because they wanted to make up for that. Can we get you something to drink? We're going to go over here. And so it was fine. But in general, amongst the group there, it wasn't that bad. There were a lot of people who were happy I was there. Oh, well, thank you for coming. And one guy who was on the board of the Denver Pride organization who has since stepped off. They did this event back in February for Black History Month. Mm-hmm. That was something about LGBT and race. And we talked about the Pride flag earlier and how they've mixed color into it. And I don't know why that's happened, but they kind of did it was very BLM-ish. And I think it was Denver BLM was all there. And I was the token conservative that they invited. But I'm still glad they invited me to be part of the conversation. And even though during the program, people were very unhappy with what I was saying, they even had to stop everything at one point. All right, everyone stop, calm down. I think I had just said that I thought that white people today in America face more racism than we as brown people do.
Oh, my God, Valdamar. You're lucky they didn't just heave you out the back door.
That caused an uproar. But afterwards, everyone came up to me and shook my hand and thanked me for being there. Even people who were disagreeing with me through this whole thing were very nice afterwards. We took a big group picture and it was good. So I think sometimes we're afraid of putting ourselves into these situations because we're afraid of confrontation. But when you do it, I've found you can get a good result. And the same thing, I've had people call me within the Republican Party who they'll tell me I heard so-and-so said this about gay people. You need to go talk to them. And so I'm I do. All right, I'm going to go to their next meeting. I'm going to introduce myself and I'm going to be there. And I have a great conversation with them and everything's fine. I think when we're afraid of breaking those barriers to talk to someone who disagrees with us, we make things worse. And then when you actually
100%,
do it,
100%.
you find that we have more in common than we do apart. And so I'm hoping this weekend we will have some good conversations. The whole thing that happened today.
I'm going to be thinking about you guys and sending you good energy because here Valdamar is going to walk into Pride Fest, which is going to be combined with angry people protesting Roe versus Wade, possibly combined with an Avs win. I got to tell you, like downtown is going to be a stew this weekend. But I do hope that you are treated respectfully.
It's supposed to rain
so.
tomorrow, so I think that might cool things off in several ways.
Let's see.
Then Sunday is usually the big day at Pride Fest anyway, and that's when everyone will
Do you guys have a booth there? I mean, do you have a booth? Or
we
what
do have a booth there, so we have volunteers, and our other board members will be there. And I have my proud gay Republican shirt with the big rainbow elephant on it, so people will know who I am. And there's another fundraiser by the same organization whose table they sat me at this weekend. So I'm going to go to their fundraiser and be the Republican amongst their group again, and hopefully have some good conversations with people. And I also think that one thing Republicans have a hard time doing is we allow the Democrats to take our communities. Like they're the ones involved in community, and we just like, oh well, that's a Democrat thing. I don't want to be there. And we need to go and get involved in these festivals, be at like the Juneteenth festivals,
Valdamar,
be at Cinco de Mayo.
One of my biggest, and it happens everywhere, and it happens around urban centers.
Yeah, we can't let them take it away from us.
We'll keep the suburbs, and you guys can have the city.
Exactly.
When in reality, so many of the solutions on the conservative side would be wonderful for these urban centers that are suffering so much, but we've just conceded those entire regions and places. Yeah. And to your point, so we don't even show up and try.
Yeah, and I definitely say to people out there who are in Denver or other urban areas, like go out to these festivals, be there and be proud of who you are. We talk about gay pride, and I don't know, that term's something that is just what it is. I'm not a big fan of the term pride. I know other people bring it up too, but like what it is really just being who you are. And it's something that you shouldn't be proud of just because you're gay, but straight people should be proud of who they are as an individual.
Right.
Christians should be proud. Buddhists should be proud. Atheists should be proud. Muslims should be proud. Black, white, whatever. Don't be afraid of being who you are in your community, because I found when you do that, it's not as bad as oftentimes you expect. Like you expect, oh no, I'm going to get all this outrage when they find out I'm a Trump supporter. I went to a gay bar a while back. We had, every once in a while, we like to go mingle with the gays. And so we went to a gay bar, and I had a Make America Great Again hat on.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it was a very left-leaning bar. But I went in, and my Make America Great Again has rhinestones all over it. It is fabulous. So I think that kind of diffuses things a little. It's like, oh, look at that wonderful hat. And then they see what it says.
Yeah.
But I had no problems there. I actually had some people. It was funny. There was a group of young people, then one of them like pink hair, purple hair.
Sure.
And we're like, oh no, what's about to happen? They came up to me and they're like, can we take a picture with you? And
you're like a unicorn.
Great. Yeah. So I mean, obviously, like be respectful. If you go in there to start an argument, you're going to get pushed back. You're going to start
an argument. Yeah, exactly.
If you go in there, you're respectful. You just be who you are. Allow people to see who you are. You're going to have a good result. You're going to meet wonderful people, and you're going to find out that there are people who agree with you who maybe they were afraid to say anything, but then they saw you and like, oh, I'm going to go talk to them. And I really think Republicans, conservatives, whatever we can't let the left and the Democrats take our cities, can't take our communities. Like we need to stay there, be involved in these festivals. And I definitely encourage other groups to get booths at these festivals. Go out there, and even if you think you may not be welcome there, if you're not, well, you'll find out. But at least ask, like, can we have a booth here? If they let you in, you're making roads into places where they're going to say, oh, they do care about us. They do want to be involved in our community. And that's very important, and we can't give that up.
I agree wholeheartedly. Campfire Colorado is a new website. You've been writing a little bit for Campfire Colorado. Tell me about it real quick.
I wrote 2 op-eds for them, both of them about gay stuff. And my thoughts on this community, but we'll talk about that. You should go look at it. It's Campfire Colorado.
I just linked to it on the blog today, so I added that to the blog so people can go and look at it.
It's a new conservative media organization. It's starting out small, but it's one thing we always talk about. We need more conservative media in this world, much less here in Colorado. So support Campfire Colorado. They have a Campfire Coffee, which is a news thing you can subscribe to, where every morning they send out an email.
A blast, yeah.
And it's great because they kind of go through all the news media in Colorado and give you the stories that are interesting, as well as pictures of the headlines of all the major papers. So you can get all that good stuff without having to dig through it yourself. So that's great. And also they have some original content as well. I think they just put out a piece on what happened with the Botanical Gardens drag show, that they kind of quietly canceled it, because I think they're starting to change a little. I think people are starting to say, well, maybe these things aren't as great as
and that's the thing. I got to tell you, I think that people who are taking their kids to a drag show have never been to a drag show.
Yeah.
Like straight up. And I truly believe that, because if you've been to a drag show, you would know it's not appropriate for children. Mm-hmm. And if you're taking your kids there, I have to believe you've never been to one yourself, or at least never been to a good one.
And I talked about it in the op-ed I did, that I think there could have been a way they could have made this work. Like if the drag queens would have dressed up like fairy tale characters or people from history and told the stories of those things, like that would have been fine. But when they come out in these like little skimpy outfits and fishnets and high heels, and that's not what you wear in front of a child.
When I saw a video from a show somewhere, is with a toddler putting a dollar in the
children
panties.
Giving dollars to performers is not. You wouldn't even do that if they had a clown, which I think drag queens have almost become like gay clowns.
I wasn't going to say that, but I feel like that's what it is.
You're hiring some gay clown to come to your birthday parties. I've seen even they go to birthday parties and they do the same thing. Like you're going to a child's birthday party, dress appropriate. Like that's just common sense.
Cover your fake boobs.
And I also feel the people who are advocates for drag queen story time or children being involved in drag, they should be the first people to speak out when you saw things like what happened in Dallas, where they were in a club and inappropriate things were happening. If you want that to happen, or you want kids to be involved in drag, speak out and condemn when someone goes too far. Like, that's too far. That's not us.
Right.
We don't want to do that. But the fact that they're all staying quiet shows that they condone that.
Yeah.
And that's what makes the entire movement bad. When it could have been done in a way that would have been child appropriate, but it's too late now.
Right.
They messed it up.
Yeah.
And
it just takes a bad apple to ruin it for everybody.
And here we are.
Valdamar Archuleta is my guest. If you want to, I've gotten a text message that said, Mandy, I sure like your guest could spend time just sitting and talking to him. Well, you can if you join him in the Log Cabin Republicans. They do events. They do happy hours. They do a barbecue every year. They do all kinds of stuff. You can find him on social media. Just look for Colorado Log Cabin Republicans. Valdamar, it's been a joy to see you.
Yes.